Thank you, Dr. Jana, for that introduction and for those marks. I actually had a PowerPoint presentation. I'm not going to use it. So I will focus my comments about 1.5 minutes each on the 4 issues that were raised in the slide for this session. The first thing I want to just add to the comments by the chairman, that between 2008 and 2022, there will be 240 million people who will be required in 21 sectors with certain different varying degrees of skill. So if you take the average and say that 14 million people a year, and if by 2022 there's an objective to raise that to about 20-25 million people come out from the higher education stream, even if we assume that 100% of them get employed, there will still be a gap of about 40 to 50 million people in just these 20 sectors that we are talking about. So the issue is that we need to address it in a different manner. So when the session was introduced, there were 4 basic points that were made. Is how do we look at skill-centric learning? Now, I used to be in the automotive industry before I joined NSDC, and we did a survey of all the automotive engineering colleges in the country. And I can it's a very interesting fact that the second most important engineering college in most of the states was actually teaching automotive engineering on a Premier Padmani engine or on toys sourced from an institution in Pune. Very recently, I visited a GD Technical Institute in Coimbatore. It's a vocational training institute. And I found people there from very top-end engineering colleges in Delhi and Karnataka, this is in Coimbatore, and Kerala, and Tamil Nadu. And these people had come to a technical institute paying their own money and joining this in the holiday to learn how to open, dismantle, and reconstruct an engine and a transmission. So the number one point I would like to make that across the higher education system, and I'm not talking about the school system now because that's the third point we need to address. There is a need to actually focus on more practical aspects of what you're going to do rather than theory. And that means we need to have a different kind of a public-private partnership, and that is what the National Skill Development Corporation is actually promoting. It is very difficult for engineering colleges or for universities to invest in the equipment because the equipment gets outdated, the demand for courses shifts, and you have empty classrooms. So what we are saying is, can NSDC fund a private sector entity which agrees to work in your university, in your premises, to train people and give them additional skills so that they become employable after they go through your education system. So that is the first thing what we are trying to do, and this is not a supply side led initiative. This is a demand side led initiative where the private sector partner actually finds out what is industry's demands or what are the entrepreneurial opportunities available in that area, and then works with the institution to actually provide skill-centric learning. The second point, which is on public-private partnership and industry-academia linkages, I think there's a lot being talked about this. Industry is not coming forward. The academia's position is that industry is not coming forward. So we find that there are a lot of entrepreneurs who are willing to build the bridge between academia and industry. And what NSDC is trying to do is trying to help these people to actually work with the academic institutions and the industry to make investments that produce people and complete the total knowledge, skill, and attitude matrix of the person, so that industry looks at them and we don't have this problem as was actually talked by Dr. Shourie in the last program, only 25% or 20% people are employable. The third thing which is very important is this whole school to work transition. And I think here there are three innovative things that NSDC is trying, but we don't know whether they will succeed or what will be the nature of this experiment going forward. We believe that many people drop out of school because they don't see, or drop out of an institution because they don't see a future of what their presence in that institution will actually lead to. So what we are trying to do is identify young people who have an aptitude not necessarily to go on for higher education, but would like to actually go in for work. And how do we make the transition from school to work and expose them to different things that are happening in industry so that they can make an informed choice. This is not a skilling program. It is normally focused at the age group between 12 to 16 to actually involve them and to show that these are the different opportunities, because many children don't have the opportunity to see what the various working in an industry or working in a company or working in a particular sector entails. So by giving them exposure, by having day-long exposure and different work type of conditions, we are looking at first making a mindset change, because currently a professional degree or a vocational degree particularly a vocational degree is second choice. They don't see it as a first choice for most people. So, if you talk of skill-centric leadership, you talk of public-private partnership, and you talk about the school-to-work transition, the biggest problem is that the whole the competency framework, the curriculum, and the trainers or teachers that are required to do this going forward. If you look at 240 million, or look at the 500 million that India as a country wants to achieve, it means you require at least 40 million training seats in the country annually. And even if you take a student ratio of 1:20, you require at least 2 million trainers in the next 2 to 3 years. You just don't have that kind of capacity. So I think it is important, and during the day and in the earlier sessions, a lot of talk was about how technology. So how do you, are able to have a few fine teachers using a different number of people at different sectors to be able to take what needs to be taught to a trainee and deliver it in a manner that that person is engaged. There are many experiments. Another part of, let's say, EduComp is doing that in the school education. There are 2 or 3 entities that we have funded who are actually doing that. But it will be important at least to change some sort of even a regulation in the whole training establishment. Because if you look at least Delhi University, which I'm familiar with, if you want to go from a lecturer to senior lecturer or to a reader, you have to go through a refresher training program. But this does not exist in the school system. This does not exist in the vocational training system. So if we can actually bring in something which ensures that you need to go in through this refresher training program. I mean, even commercial vehicle drivers have to go in for a refresher training program every 3 years. But the problem is, if you look at training the trainers, for 70,000 people in the vocational training establishment, there are only 1,100 seats. Now, installed capacity for training, including the higher education, the management, etc., was 4.3 million. We have funded 22 entities so far, cleared 22 entities for funding. These entities would train over the next 10 years 38.5 million people. They would set up over 3,000 centers in 300 districts of India. But interestingly, they will create an additional training capacity of 7.75 million annually when they come into full stream. Most of you are from the education field, so you know the first year, second year, third year, it takes about 3 to 4 years or 5 years to ramp up. By the end of the fourth and fifth year, when they ramp up to full capacity, they will have 7.78 million. We have a next board meeting on February. We expect to add a few more million to this. It is a good opportunity, but we believe that it is very important to have skill-centric learning. It is the only way we can solve the problem is through public-private partnership. We need to enable the school to work transition, and regular teacher training and creating a large base of trainers is absolutely imperative if we have to achieve what we have set out to go. Thank you very much for this opportunity to be here. Thank you very much.